It felt like so real, like only a type of thing you would see like in a movie or something, but like the community we live in really does want to see these girls go to DC.
A group of teenage girls raising money by selling paletas, Mexican popsicles, so they can afford a class trip to Washington, D.C. From TV6 News, it's Descubre with Monse. I'm Monse Ricosa. Paletas are Mexican popsicles, and this group of girls are paleteras, those who sell popsicles, the only group of mobilized paleteras in the Quad Cities. And reclaiming chingona, a once derogatory term used against Latinas, now a word boss woman like these paleteras call themselves. Joining me are the two middle schoolers, Gabby and Jessica, and Sofia, one of the high schoolers helping these girls. So could y'all tell me what a paleta is and how that's different than a popsicle?
Okay, so a paleta is a Mexican popsicle, but it's made with like real fruit, so it's not all just syrupy.
Yeah, it's not like just sugar.
Yeah.
It's like more natural.
And they come in more like exotic flavors like arroz con leche and
Watermelon.
tamarindo. Yeah, watermelon.
Yeah.
Come buy your paletas!
The Paletera selling paletas every Sunday at Runners Park for $2 each, with the goal of raising $1,600 for each girl. So what did you learn through this program?
Like people skills, like how to talk to customers.
What I learned from this project was leadership, like how to guide these girls without being, oh, like, do this, you're doing this wrong, but to, like, show them a way to, like, how to have those social skills that they are learning. And I definitely saw a lot of growth with them.
Oh, how'd you see them grow?
They were really shy to go talk to people, so now they were going out and like walking around and just telling them what the project was about. So I really saw growth.
Margarita Mojica is a teacher for the East Moline School District and the one who started the Paletera project. And how did you get involved with this?
It started last summer, the summer 2018. It was the end of the school year. My students, who were 7th graders, saw the posters up around the hallways about the DC trip, and of course everyone wanted to go to the DC trip. But then they realized, reality set in, that the price was over $1,000, and our students don't come from families that have funds like that. And so they all quickly moved on to something else, except for 2 of my boys. And they really wanted to go on this DC trip. So we just started throwing out ideas of how they could raise the money, and somehow it settled on popsicles just as a joke. And then we realized that there are no paleteros in the Quad Cities, no mobile paleteros. And so it started with them, and then they successfully earned their money. And this year we really wanted to do something with girls to pay homage to the 100-year anniversary of Congress passing the 19th Amendment for women to have the right to vote. And so we got a crew of girls together, high school girls as well as middle school girls, and it was, once again, a very successful year. We've got these girls who are calling the shots in their lives, and maybe they're not ready to use that word, chingona, to identify themselves, but whether they use it or not, what I love is that they are taking charge of their lives, and so we celebrate that.
Could you tell me about chingona and what that word means then and now?
Sure. Chingona, for an older generation, like my mother's generation, is a word that is probably seen more in a vulgar way, not positive, a word that if it were to be used, the person would probably be looked down upon. But now this next generation, this generation of Latinas that's up and coming, they have taken the word and they've embraced it in a different way to mean a person who calls the shots in her life, who is in charge of her life, who decides the direction of her life. So now it's more powerful. It is boss lady, you might say, of what a chingona is now.
And that kind of came relatively recently, because when I shared like the word with my parents and my family, they were kind of just like, they laughed it off. They weren't really taking it quite as seriously as I think others
Right.
might. Why do you think that change came about and people are taking it more seriously now?
Right. The nice thing right now is that we're seeing a higher number of Latinas, especially Latinas, who have continued their education beyond high school, and there's a movement, there's a feeling in the country among these Latinas that they have a voice and their voice will be heard. And so it's this new generation that's in college, that's just starting their career off, who, how beautiful, they're making their voice heard. And so when they say chingona, they're saying to each other, I see you, hermana, and you're doing good, and I will be there to support you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And is this a word that would be used with men at all? Because chingon isn't the same word as chingona.
That has a different connotation there. I wouldn't say, I don't think that has made that jump there. I don't know if it will, but with women, I am very happy that it's taken on this new meaning. Now, I won't use that word with my mother. I'm respecting that generation, absolutely respecting my mother's generation, who, when I look at them in my mind, I do say, they are chingonas. They, especially those women who, like my mother, left their country, left their culture, left so much behind in order to come to, for example, the United States, and not be as welcomed as other groups perhaps, and to struggle in a new country and not go back, but stay, knowing that this country was going to offer more opportunities to their children. And for our family it did. Even though in my eyes my mother she is a chingona, I would never use that word with her out of respect for her. But I know who she is. She's a boss lady, definitely.
Do you think she'll ever get to the point where she's like, yes, I am a chingona?
I think there's a secret side to my mom. I really do think there's a secret side to my mom that I hope she sees that what she has accomplished has been amazing. And I think she sees it in her daughters, in myself. She has 4 daughters, and 3 of us have our master's degrees.
Wow.
My other sister is working towards her bachelor's degree. She has a son who has an MBA. And so I think, like I said, I think there's a secret side of my mom that would embrace that. I think she surprises me. But I'm looking at this new generation, the college age, my daughter's generation, that I'm so excited for what lies ahead for them.
So who do you think could call themselves a chingona? Can any woman do it, or is it something that's more directed towards Latinas?
I think Latinas have embraced this, and good for them for having embraced it, that they're saying this is ours. I don't believe that someone would, as a Latina, would say to another sister of a different ethnicity, don't use the word, because in the end we are all sisters. No matter the language that we speak, if we share a language, if we don't share a language, the bottom line is we are sisters, and we are here to support each other. That's how we rise.
Definitely. And I think a way that, non-Latinos might interpret this word is kind of just bossy. And I think a lot of young women especially were called bossy a lot as kids. And that's, I don't think, getting to the point where chingona is quite as much, but I think a lot of women kind of relate to this feeling that they were called bossy or chingonas as a kid, and now, they're stepping up to this level where they're saying, yes, I am a boss, I am bossy, and that's okay to use.
Absolutely, it is okay, and I agree with that. There's what we see in a man may be the same characteristic we see in a woman, but somehow we see it as a positive in the male and as something negative in a female. that's why I love this generation that's coming up who's saying, this is who we are. We are in charge. We are in charge, and we can direct our lives, not in a negative way, but at that same level as the men.
And the group of paleteras is doing that. I mean, they're taking charge, and they're kind of chingonas. They're being able to do this and raising their own money to be able to go to Washington, D.C.
Yes, and it's even more than just a paleta that I've spoken to other people. Yes, this project was successful. We're very, very thankful to it. The girls saw a barrier to go to D.C. because it is expensive. They needed just over 1,600 each girl. Well worth the trip, well worth it. But it was a barrier, and we found a way to knock that barrier down. This time it was selling paletas in order to raise money to go to D.C. However, we are hopeful that this will transfer as they grow older, and the next time it may be acing that job interview or pushing themselves and out of their comfort zone to visit campuses outside of their hometown, applying for college entrance or scholarships, of dealing with setbacks in a very positive chingonga way. So it's more than just a popsicle. It was more than a paleta. It will stay with them throughout their lives. That if they could tear this barrier down, they can tear other barriers down too.
Last year, the project was for a group of young men. Their paletero trike was stolen and vandalized, putting a 1-month delay on the girls' sales the following year. In a show of support, the East Moline Fire and Police Department said the trike could be kept in their building, allowing for safe keeping.
It felt like so real, like only the type of thing you would see like in a movie or something, but like the community we live in really does want to see these girls go to DC. So it was just amazing to see like our community has our back throughout this whole project.
How come it felt like a movie? Because it kind of did look like it at times.
Yeah. Because it was just something that like for me I never thought like, oh okay, we live in like a small town, but like at times it was just so like hectic in a good way. Like we were having a lot of customers, and it just felt like, wow, we are really gonna get them to DC. Like this is real.
They came out in force to support our girls, and everything that the Quad Cities did, from buying a paleta, giving a donation, wearing a t-shirt, applauding the girls, sharing words of encouragement, all of that meant so much to us that this is a story that I know that all of our girls are going to keep with them and tell for years and years to come. So thank you to everyone.
The paleteras raised enough money to send Gabby and Jessica to Washington, D.C., with enough extra to start a scholarship for one of the high school paleteras, who is going to college next year as a first-generation student. This podcast was produced and edited by Montse Ricosa, reviewed by David Nelson, theme music composed by Gabriel Candiani and Eduardo Moretti Valenzuela. I'm your host and fellow chingona, Montse Ricosa. Join us again next time on October 17th to hear about El Día de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, and what that means for the United States and the Quad Cities. Hasta la próxima. Until next time.